Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is 4.5 Notes Part 2, Radicals and Equations. So the key fact to remember in this section here is that before you can square a term, you must isolate the square root first to make your calculations a little bit easier. That's just something that will help you out a little bit. So here we have problem number 1. 8 equals 1 plus the square root of x plus 1. What I want to first do is use inverse operations to get the square root of x plus 1 all by itself, meaning it all by itself on one side of the equal sign. So what I'm going to do, here's my equation. I'm going to first subtract 1 from both sides of the equation. So 8 minus 1, which will turn to 7, and then this positive 1 minus 1, they're going to cancel out. So we get this. 8 minus 1 is 7, equal sign. 1 minus 1, that just goes away, and the square root of x plus 1 is all by itself. Next, we're then going to square both sides of the equation. So 7 squared, and then the square root of x plus 1 will be squared, which will look like this. A little bigger. Then after that, 7 squared you know is 49. So what you might not really realize is the squared and square root, they're opposites of one another. They're inverse operations of one another. So you squared a square root, or if this was a cube root, you could cube it to delete it. Or you're using the inverse operations, so the opposite. So when you squared the square root, you're just going to get what's on the inside of the square root. We're going to rewrite that, so that's x plus 1. So once we have that, we then subtract 1 from both sides. Using the subtraction property. And we're going to get 49 minus 1 gets you 48. So x equals 48. And that's problem number 1. Problem number 2. We have the square root of x plus 10 equals 10. So the first thing, well, we already have the square root all by itself on one side of the equal sign. So what we're going to do, we're going to square both sides of the equation first. So we get the square root of x plus 10 squared is equal to 10 squared. So we square both sides of the equal sign, so everything on the left hand side of the equal sign is squared and everything on the right hand side of the equal sign is squared. When we square a square root, the square root disappears and we have x plus 10, or what was on the inside, and it's equal to, well, 10 squared is equal to 100. We then subtract 10 from both sides of the equal sign, the subtraction property, and then we're going to get x equals 90 as our answer. Here's another one. We have 1 equals square root of k plus 2. So I rewrote my equation. I square both sides, so it looks like this. We have 1 squared is equal to the square root of k plus 2 squared. 1 equals k plus 2. I then subtract 2 from both sides of the equal sign, and we get k equals negative 1. Number 4. This number 4 is a little bit different. We have a square root on both sides of the equal sign. Not a problem. You can handle it. You're first going to square both sides. Since the square root of a set of terms is equal to the square root of a set of terms, you could square both sides and simply just delete both square roots. So you have 22 minus 2m is equal to 2m minus 2. Then you do the addition property, and you're going to get 22 equals 4m minus 2. Then you're going to do the addition property, add 2 to both sides, and you get 24 equals 4m. Then you do the division property, divide by 4 to both sides, and then you're going to get m equals 6. Because 24 divided by 4 is 6. Alright, last one. We have a square root on both sides. I rewrite my equation, so I make a little more room. So I'm going to square both sides. So we just rewrite what's inside those square roots. So negative 1 minus 11x is equal to 1 minus 9x. We then add 11x to both sides. So we get negative 1 is equal to 1 minus, negative 9x plus 11x gets you 2x. Then you subtract 1 to both sides. So you get 2 equals 2x. You divide by 2 to both sides. And you get x equals negative 1. Alright. Now if you have any questions, feel free to email me or come to Extra Help. I'll be happy to help you out. Alright, have a good night.